Probably to your left side, I have Richard Delasky, who is joining us for this discussion. Richard.
Yes, as always, honored to be here.
Okay, and then I have Bernard Avle also joining us for today's discussion.
It's like a debate.
Yes.
On the left side,
on the left side is Richard, and on the right side is Bernard.
Yeah.
Richard, I want to quickly take a statement or two from you in court today.
Okay, yes, I will.
How did it go?
So the Supreme Court ruled against me. The judgment went against me, the plaintiff in this particular case. They took the view that because the subject matter is still technically a bail and not an act, their jurisdiction under Article 2.1 and 130, so Articles 2.1 and 130 of the Constitution, is not properly invoked. Okay. In other words, the bail ought to have graduated into an act before the action is initiated. Okay. So strictly speaking, the key issues that we raised in our case before the court have not been determined. Okay. It is the procedural hurdle of saying that yes, we are properly before you, that the court took the view that, look, you have not satisfied us that our jurisdiction is properly in play, and therefore we are dismissing the case.
So what's the next plan for you?
Well, as the court stated today, they are yet to make available to us the full reasoning that went into the decision. That will be available on Friday, by close of day on Friday. Okay. So when it becomes available, together with my lawyers, we'll look at the fine details of what's in the judgment, and then we'll decide what to do therefrom. Because as you do know, as a plaintiff, if you lose at first instance at the Supreme Court, you can always seek review of the decision. We have to look at the full gamut of reasons that went into the decision, and based on that, a decision will be taken one way or the other. But I mean, it is also important to state that this is a 7-0 outcome. Yeah. In other words, unanimous decision. So it is difficult to actually overturn those. There must be something really compelling as to get the court, because they will add essentially two more judges, and it would take something really compelling to overturn the outcome.
So from what I'm gleaning from you, that's it.
Well, depending on what we see with the decision, it may well be that that will be it. I mean, a decision will be taken on Friday after reviewing the judgment fully with my lawyers, and we'll go from there. But I mean, let me serve notice, however, that if this bill in its current form becomes law, there's no doubt in my mind that I'll go back to the court, because the central issues that underpinned or anchored my litigation have not been resolved. Okay. It is just the procedural issue of you have not crossed that hurdle, and therefore we are not going to move on with this particular matter. So if it is now back to Parliament to forward it to the President to determine what to do with it, if that the piece of legislation becomes law properly so called, and those issues have not been addressed, trust me, I'll be back in the court. All
right, we'll be here hoping to get the news from you as and when after Friday, and then if it becomes an act and you want to still go back, we'll be here. But we hope to have you on CNR tonight. I'm saying it in front of my boss so that you see that we are pulling you to CNR since afternoon we've been playing games.
Are you hosting a show? You are producing?
I'm doing both. Alaska, he's playing games with me, so I want you to hear what he's been doing.
You are hosting a show. You are producing your next show. Vivian, you are wild.
So we'll see you at 8 p.m. whether you like it or not.
Subject to my availability.
My friend, you'll be
there.
Matters, you'll be there. Alaska, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian.
Okay, so let's go to the cracks of why we are here today. We're looking at the Greater Accra region following the elections, and our focus is on parliamentary. Before we go into the constituencies proper, I want to take your initial remarks on the outcome of the election proper with the Greater Accra, a very key region, actually one of the most
Thank you, Vivian. You know, what is very interesting about this election is the swing regions and how they behaved. 2 days ago, I think Umaru Sanda was on Central region, which was discussed extensively, and Greater Accra is another swing region.
Actually
Yesterday. Yeah, Tuesday, yeah.
So, Vivian, we have 4 swing regions. If you take the old 10 regions, Western region, Central region, Greater Accra, and Bono Ahafo. Together, you have 112 constituencies in those 4. So, Bono East, Bono Ahafo, Western North, Western Central, Greater Accra, 112. Now, Vivian, so far 109 of those are clear, or 108 of those are clear. All right, 108 of those seats are clear. So we are not sure of the 3 in Accra that are under contention. Okaikwei Central, Ablekuma North, Tema Central, and then Techiman South. So if you take out those 4, you have 108 of those seats that are known. Now, Vivian, guess how many NDC has won of the 108? 108 seats in 4 big regions. 108. Guess how many NDC has won, how many MPP has won?
NDC has won 105. No, minus the Bono one. You
so let me take it again. People. We have 112, and of the 112, 4 are not known. So it means you have 1.
So you have some 4 there.
8. Out of that 108, guess how many each party has won?
So plus the Bono and the Central, NPP had, how many did they take from Central?
I think the number will come to around 16 or so for the NPP, right?
Plus
no, I want everybody to guess differently because I like to play these games with you guys.
So let me take
I will go for 16.
Wait. 16 for MPP?
16 for MPP.
Vivian, would you give NPP more or less?
No, NDC, let me go with the NDC one.
Yes, this is easier.
NDC 98.
You are very close. You are very close.
So 90, up or down?
You are just 3 higher. So NDC has 95.
Okay.
1 is independent and MPP has 12.
Whoa.
Can you imagine? So 112 seats. Independent is 1. That's Goma Central. Okay. I'm just using swing regions.
Yeah.
NPP has 12. Now guess who these 12 are? 1 in Bono region. 1 in Hafo region. 1 in Western North. That's 3. 4 in Central. That's 7.
The rest, Accra.
2 in Western. That's
8, 9.
9. And then 3 in Greater Accra. That's 12.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? 112 parliamentary seats. MPP has 12. The ones under litigation, Techiman South, we don't know where it's going. Based on what the EC has said, Tema Central, Okaikwei Central, and Ablekuma North. Now, if you even say that because they were initially declared for NDC, you add it. The other issue with this, what makes it serious is that these swing regions, every election, have behaved the same way, presidential and parliamentary, generally. So if you have such a swing, 112 seats, somebody has close to 100, and somebody has just 12. So take out Ashanti Eastern, take out Volta, take out Upper East, Upper West North, take out Oti. These are the regions that usually swing. There is no bigger testimony of the mood of the nation. And I think we've said before that when people are angry, they punish their MPs first. Yeah. So MP will collect his own before the president will collect his own. So I even think the MPs did worse than the president. Because if you take the same, let me do some experiment for you. If you take, and I can show it here, if you take the same breakdown, and you ask yourself, how well did how many constituencies did the presidential candidate of the MPP win? Then we'll compare it because so that we can decide whether he's doing better or worse.
Well, I think the MPs did better than the candidate.
Let me check. Let me test it.
Yeah, so put together all the votes.
Let me test it.
That went to the MPP candidate.
Actually, you're right. So when you take oh my God, when you take the presidential candidate in terms of consensus 1, the whole of Bono and Ahafo, he won 2. The whole of Bono is enough, he won 2. Whereas the parliamentarians, they have 3. Western and Western North, he won none. And then he wins Central about 2. So actually his MPs even did better. This is it's
This
almost
is the first we're seeing.
unfathomable. So basically, the constituencies that voted for who Bawumia had more than Akufo-Addo. You have Doma East, you have Tema North, you have Himandowa Denchira. In the Western region, let me be clear on the Western region. I can't see any constituency in the Western region that he won. I stand to be corrected based on the scale of my map. Let me just look at Western region again. But it's very, very serious. Because parliamentary-wise, they won 12, but presidential-wise, if I just take Western and Western North, let me just open this up. Yeah, I don't see any. No, there's none.
So
And
the
then Greater Accra, which is where you are, let me do Greater Accra, presidential. I'm just doing a comparison, Vivian, so give me 2 minutes. Greater Accra, which presidential seats, using a better word, 2. Trobu and Ayawaso 2.
That's it for the candidate.
Yes, Trobu and Ayawaso 2, because Kwabenya has not been declared.
Yeah.
Neither has Ablekuma North and Okaikwei Central.
Okaikwei
So
Central,
of the 31 that we know in Greater Accra, Bawumia won 2, and his MPs won 3. So Jerry Ameshaib won Wejak Bawe, even though Bawumia lost it.
Lost the, yeah.
So it's almost unfathomable.
That's can you quickly give us what it looked like for his boss in 2020?
Oh my
Do you
God.
have that?
I can do that here for you. Maybe
For us to
should I go
see?
up there?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what are we saying? I just wanted to do regions that
Swing region.
yes, we call them so-called swing regions. So I have for Bono East, Central, Greater Accra, Western and Western North. So these are the regions that in these are the 4 regions prior to 2018. The whole of Bono East, NDC won everything. Tema South, we don't know.
Yeah.
The whole of Bono, the only parliamentary seat MPP has is this one, German South. The whole of Ahafo, the only parliamentary seat MPP has is Tema North. The whole of Western North, the parliamentary seat they have is Suaman. The whole of Western region, they have 2, Takrady and Efia. Takrady and Efia. Okay. Then the whole of Greater Accra region, forgive me, the whole of Greater Accra region, they have 3. So in actually, Greater Accra is actually done well for MPP, if you think about it. They have 3, which is Weja Bawe, Ayawaso Tum, and Trobu. Central, they have 4.
Mind you, there's a challenge regarding Trobu.
Yes, please. Central, Efutu, majority leader.
Yeah.
Upper Denchira West, Asin South, Reverend Intim Fojo, and Himan Lower Denchira. He's called Lawrence Ajinsem.
Okay.
He is the MD.
Oh, that's the boss for
Exim
Exim Bank. Yeah.
Yes. So when you add the swing regions, these are the regions that are not affiliated to any party historically. Parliamentary-wise, MPP has 12.
Okay.
If you check presidential, it's even worse. It's less than 5.
Okay.
And if you wanted me to test this,
So
for,
this is the
I
swing
wanted you
arc.
to do-
yes, yes, it's called a swing arc. You wanted me to do
I wanted you to do a comparison of the 2020 election. So look at what his boss, how his boss fared, and
okay. So now let's. So you want me to do a presidential situation for you? Okay.
and then you can trickle it down to the party's performance.
Wonderful.
For Greater
So
Accra.
presidential, I'm picking the same thing I have for Bono East. It will come shortly. Then I'm going to add Western North and Western. Just give me a minute. So I have for Bono East, Central, Greater Accra, Western and Western North. Okay. So this is presidential.
Yeah.
As we said, 1 in Bono, 1 in Ahafo. Central has 2, Greater Accra has 3. So it's 3 plus 2, 5 plus 2, 7. Now, you want me to do this for 2020 to see how Akufo-Addo did? Well, that's going to come up shortly. I'm very sure he's probably won about half of them, if not more. Because presidential elections in Central region, Akufo-Addo won
It did well.
almost all the seats. Even though
well.
parliamentary-wise, NDC did better.
So it's come up.
Yes.
Is that it?
So it's going to come shortly. So if you look at that, Akufo-Addo actually won 49% of swing regions. and John Mahama got 48%. He won 3 in Bono East. He won a whole lot in Bono, a whole lot in Ahafo, a whole lot in Central and Western, plenty in Greater Accra. So if you count the consensus he won, I can't count on my finger because they are over 110.
Yeah.
But if you come to Parliament, Parliament 2012, let me see, 2020, right?
Yeah, Greater Accra.
To see how many seats they've come from. For the same arch.
Yes.
The swing arch, as British guy calls it. I'm pretty sure it's over 40. Okay, so you want me to do the 2020 parliamentary swing arch?
Yeah.
Okay, so here you go.
Who's that?
Lord. So somebody should check that for me.
Yeah.
So Ahafo, Bono East, Bono Central, Greater Accra, Western North and Western. Vivian, look at that. 49, 63.
Wow.
So from 49 to 12.
So 12. That's a huge dip.
It's everywhere.
That's shellacking.
49 has reduced to 12.
Yeah.
And 63 has increased to 108 or no 95.
Yeah.
And we have about 3 more to go.
This is
Okay.
a very...
So all of Bono is gone.
Yeah.
A whole lot of Western is gone.
Greater
And
Accra.
Accra is almost wiped out.
It's Central.
Central is
Yeah,
gone.
and Central as
Left
well.
with only 2, right?
It doesn't. It's serious.
Okay.
So and I use
2
the
or 3,
swing
yeah.
so people can understand why we started from Central. We go to Greater Accra because we already know that NDC will win Volta and OT.
Yeah.
And the MPP will win Ashanti.
Yeah.
NDC will win Upper East and Upper West. So this gives you a very important view of the country.
Okay. All right. Okay, you can please resume your seat.
Okay.
You go back there in
I've
a
created
bit.
enough damage.
Yes. Let me bring you in, Sky, on his initial remarks on this with regards to Greater Accra region. Then we'll look at what led to the fall and then the particular constituency.
You know, people before the elections took the view that we may well be reflecting a certain viewpoint in the Greater Accra region, but that would not necessarily translate into how people see the elections in the outer areas of Accra, as in outside the national capital. So that there was a certain feeling, and you get that feeling too from people close to the situation, that they believe that on the ground, in the villages, in the townships, outside of Accra, we're going to see a different reality. But this art that you are looking at tells you the story of how badly people want change. In other words, they could also feel the economic difficulties that all of us here in the national capital were feeling. Because in any event, from the Bono areas, these are food-producing areas. In the western region, they are also food-producing areas. If you go to the northeast and then, the savannah areas, they also produce food. And they expect that they should be able to transport these things to Accra. Where is the market? Essentially, the market is in Accra and Kumasi. Then you have Takoradi also there. Look at the belt. All of those areas have been wiped away because of what? People could feel the misgovernance that was at play. People could feel the economic difficulties. And people could not see the development that the government was promising. For instance, in the western region, we're told that the whole region has become what? A construction zone. They have dug up all kinds of places, expecting that work could be done, but contractors abandoned sites. Money was not available to do the work, and the people had to endure the dust that was engulfing the place. Similar things happen in Kumasi. So if you see results coming out like this, you should not be surprised. It is a reflection of what people really feel about this government.
All right. Aloski.
Yeah.
What we saw with regards to Greater Accra region, Sky believes that it's just a show of how they were feeling, what they felt should be done and not done, especially in the urban area. Do you agree with that, or you have some more to add?
You know, Sky is right. Initially, when we were talking about Greater Accra, a lot of people said you are an urban area. There's a lot of media. Because there's a lot of urban poverty, people bear the brunt of economic hardships much more. And that if the government does development in rural communities, it's a different feeling. So some people even felt that Akufo-Addo had moved the MPP to the left by that he had done free SHS, which is a policy that poorer people appreciate. Because a lot of the people who we support on COPE, would definitely come from rural communities.
Yeah.
So a lot of people felt that even though they had lost popularity in the urban area, some of the development projects in the rural areas would close the gap. That's basically what the feeling was. But I think what people fail to realize is that there's an intricate relation between urban and rural areas, where people in urban communities relay information to the rural areas. People in urban communities send money to rural areas. And in Ghana, our rural areas are not that detached from our urban areas. Number two, our rural areas in Ghana is now over 55% urbanized. So most people's hometowns are not villages.
Yeah.
Where my mother and my father are from, you can use internet, you can stream, you can do a Zoom call from both towns. Are they rural areas? Do you understand? So I think the misunderstanding of rural-urban, in 1987, if you say a rural area, we didn't even have electricity in some parts of the north. Every corner of Ghana has electricity. So I think the government misunderstood this, okay? And they also assumed that the economic issue was the only issue. There were also misgovernance issues. There was posturing issues. There was 8-year fatigue.
Yeah.
All of those things played out. So for me, I think as we get into this, you will see, and based on the chart we just showed you, this was a national anger unleashed against a governing party in a proportion that even the opposition leader called. In fact, I interviewed Joshua Alabi, and he said he called it a democratic revolution. Because even in their experience as modern politicians post-2000, nothing like this has ever happened. Which is why you keep hearing NDC saying they shouldn't take voters for granted. Because the anger that pushed them out in 2016, this is like double the anger that has brought them back. All right? And so if that anger is not assuaged by good governance, trust me, the electoral map of Ghana has changed forever. Because, we used to discuss 8-year cycle. I'm not surprised people are now even less. They are not even tolerating for 4 years. They'll deal with you.
And I think that's what will
so
happen
because
now.
people are very and information has become so commonplace.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll tell you. So let's have you on a WhatsApp group with all your cousins across the country. Some are in Tamale, some are in Sefiyo, some are in Kumasi. If you share a video here in Accra, they will watch the video.
Yeah.
So they are not as detached. So if let's assume there's a corruption scandal, and you put a video on a family WhatsApp platform and you are discussing it. People in Canada are contributing. People in Kumeutu are discussing it.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't think that there's such a big difference between urban and rural voters. This election has shown us that we all need to revise the notes around compartmentalizing the country, because the swing regions have really blown. Even the NDC is like, wow.
Yeah.
This is serious.
They themselves were not expecting that level of wash. But like in the scriptures, the sins of the fathers will be visited on the children. Some of the parliamentary candidates in Greater Accra region, you would think they shouldn't have been affected by the sins of the father in terms of being wiped out.
Can I take that?
Yes.
See, Vivian, in 2016, MPP had an unassailable parliamentary advantage.
Yes.
In 4 years, half of that was decimated. That should tell you that already, and as we've all agreed, the first person a voter punishes for his discontent is his MP.
Yeah.
Because when he's looking for government, his MP first, his president later. So usually, presidents in their first terms do better than their MPs, because already the guy is unhappy that you've not done my road, you're annoying me. NDC gained 31 seats from based on 2020 elections. That should have been a big sign that the country was already turning. Mind you, 2020 was a COVID year. COVID, people didn't register a lot. There was a lot of anger. And the president in COVID did a pretty good job in terms of his rallying the nation. So people were able to prepare to cut him some slack. So anybody who was watching the trend should have said, in every electoral cycle, your first 4 years, you are supposed to do better at the polls. Krowor did better in his 4. And this is better from 2012 to 2028. Only you in 2020, you are doing worse than 2016. That should have been a sign. So I don't think it's more visiting the iniquity of the fathers. It's basically saying, if I'm unhappy, I'll do my MP first. If the MP doesn't reform, I'll add the president to it. Okay. So it's not like just the presidency.
I'm saying that because of what we've all experienced in terms of the economy, in terms of the posturing and all that, which started proper from the top, and then of course spreading to governance and all that. That's where I'm coming from.
Still, because don't forget that MP's campaign, he will tell you, MP's campaign on a developmental agenda. We all know That's not their work.
Yeah.
But they've accepted that cross, so they should carry it.
Yeah.
They will tell you, in fact, they were aspiring MPP MPs who were commissioning roads, drip.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, if MP is not supposed to do road, why are you doing drip? And why is not the DC who's doing drip but the MP?
Yeah.
So you are telling the people that if the road is bad, I'm not lobbying.
Yeah.
So if I'm not seeing good roads, if there are issues in my constituency that are making me unhappy, the MP has to pay the price. So I'm not sure. They are basically saying the first person who has to pay for my anger is the man I have control over.
Okay.
That's my MP. You are right. There are some MPs who tried a lot.
Yeah.
In Greater Accra, we'll see some. They were more visible.
Yeah.
And this even admits that 3 months ago, when they looked at their numbers, some of those MPs were doing well.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the national momentum, if you look at the gap, I'll tell you something. In 2020, Lejo Kuku, for example, the MPP candidate did much better than the president.
Yeah.
He also did better than his president now, but the gap he got in 2020 was almost doubled in 2024. So there's residual anti-government anger. Then there are also local issues connected. So it is a complete wipeout.
Okay, I mean, added to that, I think that there's also an issue of accountability in that. Because if you look at our constitutional architecture, it is my respectful view that it is the job of the MP to hold the executive accountable. And the executive arm of government is headed by the president. So that where the president is engaging in excesses that undermine the collective interest of the Ghanaian, you would expect that Parliament would intervene through the MPs to ensure that the right thing is done. So we saw that process or that authority engage in the case of the 94 or so MPs who said that the finance minister needed to go because they thought that he had outlived his youthfulness. But that was not exacted to its logical conclusion. Because the ultimate conclusion would have been the minister would leave within the time prescribed by the MP, but that did not happen. So the question is whether MPs reflect what happens in their various constituencies, and do they carry that feedback back to Accra and send the same to those who are at the presidency to tell them that, look, this is the situation on the ground. Even though I belong to the NDC or even though I belong to the NPP, what you are doing is wrong. If you don't change course, I will use the processes in Parliament to punish you or hold you accountable. It would seem that many of the MPs did not do that. So that, for example, when the minority sponsored a vote of censure motion against the Minister for Finance, if the MPs who were out there saying that the minister should go actually believed in their cause and in fact wanted to push it to its logical conclusion, what they ought to have done was to have supported the NDC side, but they did not. The party issued a fiat and they told a lie. You understand? So it would seem to me that beyond what Bernard has said, there is also the inbuilt accountability mechanism that the people wanted to engage to ensure that, look, MPs do what is in the interest of the people.
But guys, usually when it's going to go bad, everybody sees it, except the politicians. Is that really the case? Or they see, but they want to not see? Because like Bernard is saying, from the last election it was clear that this is not going well.
You see, from my reading of the situation and speaking to people close to the situation, even their own internal polling showed them that, look, this was going to be a bloodbath. Now, the party people did not believe that Bawumia on his own steam can win the elections just like that. There was a certain feeling that they needed to use the party's candidates around the country to prosecute the elections. And in so doing, possibly push the elections into a second round by, first of all, winning at least the majority of votes, or maintaining the even, what do you call it? Is it even split? Is that correct? The split in Parliament. But that failed. That strategy did not work to their expectation. There was a bloodbath for the MPs and then also for the presidential candidate. And once the mood of the country moved towards let's change this government. It was.
Okay, so let's look at Accra. Let me start by asking you which constituencies got your attention.
I think the biggest story in Greater Accra is obviously Kwabenya, because anytime you ask me prior to the election to tell you strongholds, I will give you the MPP, Kwabenya, Trobu, Anyaso, Tom, and then I will add Wejagbawe.
Yeah.
They are the big four.
Yeah.
Then I'll add Ablekuma North.
Okay.
Then I'll give you the smaller ones, Okaikwei Central, Tema Central. Then I'll also give you Tema East. Then I'll add Botiano and Weja, depending on who wins. So each time you look at NDC, NDC will win all the other areas. Sege, win Ashaiman, win Ningo Prampram, Ponkatamanso. MPP's big five always had Kwabenya.
Yeah.
In 2020, Kwabenya gave MPP a 28,000 gap. The only constituency that did better for MPP was Trobu, 30K. So MPP's big boys are Kwabenya. You know the line from Accra to Kumasi. I even created a theory around it that the way to your hometown determines how you vote. So if you are driving to the voter region, you vote NDC. If you are driving to Ashanti, you vote MPP. So to think that the Kwabenya seat has been won by NDC, I mean, I think is the biggest story of this Greater Accra regional election. And the build-up has been interesting because of the Ayawaso factor, the fact that she didn't come down, the way she won the primaries in 2020 before with 4 points. So the thing has been building up for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then the whole analysis by people like Musa Dankwa that some of Ayawaso supporters will not support Gabo. And even an interview she had recently where she didn't seem too worried.
Yeah, like she saw it coming.
So I think Kwabenya is the biggest story.
Okay.
I want to just run a quick comment.
For the
I haven't even entered. I'm just giving. Okay.
You see, the points you have made valid.
Yeah.
But then also, have we taken on board the fact that this was a member of parliament, or this is a member of parliament, who left the jurisdiction, spent over a year?
Over a year in the U.S. Yeah.
In some cases, dancing and singing on TikTok.
and taking care of her family.
So
she said,
yeah, that's right. Invitations were, extended to her to be able to vindicate herself before the Privileges Committee as to why she should not be punished for abandoning, posts.
Yeah.
A report was prepared on her. What has become of that report? Now, have we taken the trouble to ask ourselves whether beyond the issues Bernard raises, which are valid issues, which I identify with, the people in the constituency didn't think that, look, there has got to be some punishment they exact for that kind of conduct? Because virtually the people were left, for want of a better expression, naked.
But why should they punish the new person? Not, I mean,
because it's the party.
It's a party.
So they are punishing the party in general.
Why not? Because it was it was the same party that even allowed her to attempt to seek re-election.
Yeah.
Even after they had moved, in parliament, that she should be taking out.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Yeah,
the party had tried. Listen, the MPP had tried to get her seat declared vacant, and the NDC blocked it.
Yeah.
So Sky's argument is, why should your party say, let Ayawaso leave parliament, but NDC blocks it, and then you bring her back on the ticket for primaries? You are taking us for granted.
Yeah.
So I think so you are saying, in addition to her rivalry, the fact that the constituents felt poorly represented, and you remember those times you used to send your reporters to the domain market, they were not very happy with her absence. So some of that could have contributed to Okoe's travails. So I know he wants to challenge in court, but Vivian, let's just look at the numbers for Kwabenya to give you the context of this seismic nature. In 2004, Kwabenya MPP gets 65%, NDC gets 32%.
Wow.
2008, MPP gets 57%, NDC gets 39%. So they don't reach 40. 2012, which is NDC's best election prior to this one, MPP gets 63% in Kwabenya. NDC gets 35%. 2016, NPP gets 67.73%. NDC gets 31%. 2020 was when the cracks began to show. NPP for the first time came below 60 to 58. And NDC for the first time crossed the 40.64. Yeah. If you round off the MPP, you can still stay 60-40.
Yeah.
They take 3, I take 2. So to bridge a 18% gap in an electoral cycle is nearly impossible. All right. So when the polls were saying Kwabenya could fall, people were like, how? It's almost like, you have safe seats.
Yeah.
All right. One of the things this election has shown us that there are no safe seats
anymore.
Because if you are Asenso and you have MPP in Bantama, you are winning by 40,000 gap. If you are Jifa Ablagomashi and you win NDC primaries, you are winning the seat by 50,000 gap. So Kwabenya may have been tempted. So I think, in addition to all the things we've said, the gap is too big. That 58-40.
It's almost unimaginable.
Yeah.
So let me just do my normal work. Now, what is the final numbers? Eliklim Akurugu.
Yeah.
51,634. Mike Aaron Ni Note Okwe Jr. 50,477. Eliklim gets 50.01. Okwe 48.89. So basically, she's converted a stronghold into a chimpe. Biggest story. If you look at the map, if you look at the graph, it's almost, the thing has been going on, then
it just keeps in.
I can show you, it doesn't make sense.
So it's a gone one for the MPP?
Yeah, I mean, well, I believe that, look, that is naturally an NPP stronghold to a large extent. The question is whether they can get back to the drawing board. I mean, that is without prejudice to any challenge that the Honorable Ambassador Michael Kwabenya wants to launch. But I do not think that it is a seat that can be held on to for long by the NDC. If you look at the dynamics in that particular place, if everything works out properly, the MPP is able to fix
but the outgoing MP in her recent interview, Isaac Mandi also said, yes, we cannot underestimate the power of a father's church and the numbers from that.
Well, I mean, that is, I mean, if you look at the polls that Musa Dankwa produced, and the father wields a lot of influence there because of the church, and then also the people who attend that church. Sort of, if he gives an edict that, look, all of you go out there and you know what to do, vote for my daughter, that is most likely to be obeyed by a good number of the people. Now, look at the difference. 50,477, 51,634. Of course, as Bernard explained,
1,157.
Exactly.
So, for a constituency with 183,000 voters.
Exactly.
1,000 is very small. But I want to make a point.
Okay.
I disagree with you slightly when you say it's a strong vote, because my theory is that 2024 has shown us that a lot of our assumptions about what a strong vote is has changed.
Okay.
Second point. If you look at Kwabenya, and I've lived there for a long time before I moved out, there are parts that typically vote for MPP. So you start from Taifa, Dome. Then there are transition parts, Hacho, Agbogba. Then there are parts like Abokobi. Okay, now this is what I say. As Accra's population expands, the parts of the constituency that are further away have more people moving in there. Do you follow my logic? So Taifa has a limit to which it can expand. Dome cannot expand that much because Abokobi the place is taken up. But Abokobi, Teiman, if you drive to those areas, people are putting up houses a lot. Then we have old Ashoman, Ablaje, pure water. So, and when you analyze the polling stations, Ayawaso would win Taifa North, Taifa, Dome, Hacho can be split. But when you move from Agbogba to Ashoma, there was a particular road that people complain about on my show a lot of times. When you're driving from Wisconsin University down towards Agbogba, they did half, they left half. When you get to Ahmadiyya in Old Ashoman, they do a road, they leave part of it. Ablaje roads are bad.
Pure water is in horrible shape.
Omanis area. So what I'm trying to say is that, you see, the nature of the console, there's a lot of things that work against Okwe. We've discussed it. And usually when you send a reporter to Kwabenya to do a story, almost all the issues on roads, in fact, there was a day I even did an interview about the road they started doing and didn't finish. The MCE for Ga East was always in trouble because the people in the new developing areas are angry and the people in the MPP places are okay. So some of that iniquity was visited on Okwe too. And the expansion into that area. Today somebody sent me a message about a road they did from Abokobi to Teiman which they said the road in less than a month is going bad.
Oh my word.
So you see my point. So I'm not saying that ND is going to take over the seat. But as people expand and they start facing urbanized problems,
it's likely to
yeah, so it's not to be taken. In fact, places like even Trouble, where MPP used to win, if I show you how NDC closed the gap, you'll be surprised in parliamentary.
Okay.
So Kwabenya has changed. Let's see how it gets in the next few years.
Okay, so we'll see in the next election whether it becomes no, stronghold for anybody or anything. Let's move to your second surprise.
So I won't call it a surprise, but I'll call it something a lot of people predicted. Tema West.
Okay.
Tema West. Now, why is Tema West interesting? Tema West is interesting because it had been coming. What do I mean by it has been coming? So Tema West is Sakumono. Give me a minute. Sakumono, Klagon, parts of Community 2 in Tema. Now, Vivian, Tema has 3 constituencies. Tema East typically NDC wins. Tema Central MPP wins comfortably. And then Tema West MPP wins. Again, from 2020, Carlos had a challenge from Raphael Jamina, who was a doctor. Prior to Raphael Jamina coming, James Enu had run in 2016 and lost. And James Enu gave Carlos a run for his money. A lot of people felt that if James Enu had come back in 2020, he would have taken a seat from Carlos. Because he would have had that residual experience. So when Raphael Jamina came, Raphael Jamina closed the gap pretty decently. Let me just show you the historical analysis for Tema West. All right? So look at that. In 2020, Carlos, again, look at where the conversation started from. 2061-25 for MPP, 53-38, 55-42. In 2012, it closed to 49-48.
Yeah.
This was when Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo nearly took the seat for the NDC. I think it was Natoshi.
Wow.
Then in 2016, MPP takes back 59-39. So it's like 60-40. This is big MPP advantage, 2016. But look at 2020, Raphael Jamina closes the gap from 39 to 47.
Yeah.
And Carlos is breathing, struggling, 50.66.
Yeah.
So this was coming.
Yeah.
Now, there was a debate among NDC people. Should they bring back Raphael Jamina to finish the job he started? Raphael Jamina is a medical doctor, as much as James Enu is a lawyer who's known. I think that doctors and lawyers have an advantage in parliamentary elections. Generally, doctors, lawyers, and journalists, or very wealthy people, because lawyers do pro bono cases and people know them.
Yeah.
If you go to Western region, a lot of guys who won, the one particular guy, he just do free law for people.
Yeah.
Okay. Doctors as well, if he has a family practice, people come there, they get free treatment, they are respected. So NDC brought back James Enu. Some people thought he was the wrong candidate. But when you speak to NDC, they'll say he even didn't want to go anymore after 2016, but he was convinced to come back because he's well known. Now, MPP's problem is that people are angry with Carlos. But Dennis is Carlos's boy.
Yeah.
So you remember, when we do the port discussions, Dennis speaks for the other freight forwarders who are the second freight forward group. So people know Dennis in Tema. I think this is more visiting the iniquity of Carlos
onto the sun.
This one is clear. You get it? Because Dennis is new.
Yeah.
But the decline in the... And guys, look at this. From a seat that MPP had never gone below 50.
Yeah.
35%. And James Enu is doing 63%.
Massive weighting.
I mean, guys, this is almost like James Enu has basically
overturned everything.
You see, you've made very fantastic points, but I want to develop them further with some additional files as I know them. You know, that particular constituency is known for a lot of infighting within the MPP.
Yeah.
You will note that when the Honorable Irene Natoshi came in, it was a brutal, battle with the Honorable Abraham Oseidu, who was then the majority leader under John Kufuor's administration.
Which is what brought the 49-48.
Exactly. So it was, in fact, the NDC could have taken the seat if, things had worked well.
Yeah.
Of course, Natoshi, her departure also coincided with another brutal battle with, what's the name?
Carlos,
yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, Carlos beat Natoshi.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
You understand? So that created so much animosity. But beyond that, Bernard, you'll notice that Klagon and related communities became central in all of the discussion about which lands were being taken by cronies of the system, which lands were supposed to be...
Wetlands, Ramsar sites.
Exactly.
I forget.
Have been taken over by pests. So the government had given an edict that, hey, this particular space, nobody's supposed to go there. But all of a sudden, news came in that people close to the situation, people close to the Port of Soup, people close to power, were taking or seizing spaces in these areas, filling them up and developing them. Meanwhile, you had a Greater Accra regional minister moving there previously to demolish houses, people's property. Of course, I mean, if it was within his right to do that, we should respect that having been done. But the question is, do the people feel that the system took advantage of them? That they worked so hard as to build houses. Of course, the allegation is that they built in waterways. But somehow, people who were supposed to be protecting these wetlands were taking advantage of them. So it would have been double speak in this case. And I am not surprised because the people were angry. People lost a lot of money. So if they came out the way they did and voted against the MPP, it is a blame that they must shoulder themselves because they must have contributed to it. And
the anger wasn't just for the residents. The traditional authorities were not happy as well, because there was even a video where the chief said they will see how the voting will go because people vote for human beings and not birds.
Birds, yes. That's
you know, so that is an interesting
The third
one.
issue is the port. And let me explain. Tema is a port town. Takoradi and Tema have very many similarities. When you have currency issues in a country, the first group that bears the brunt are importers. So generally, a lot of the Tema community are business savvy, business families. That's why you have some Koreans also there and people who are basically seafarers. Vivian, since 2022, with the currency problems, freight forwarders have been complaining a lot. I actually called a man who worked in the port and I said, what are you doing? He says, oh, we are sitting at home. He said, what are you doing? He said, we are waiting for NDC to come. I said, why? He says, because there's nothing going on here. Now, don't forget, Carlos is a port guy. And in Tema, the thing about Tema I like is that they know themselves. So a stranger cannot come and win an election in Tema. If you are not a Tema boy, they won't vote for you. They know your grandfather from there, they know your house and everything else. Do you understand? So in addition to the issues around housing, you have this whole port decline in port traffic. We are losing business to Lomé. The currency is tough. A lot of freight forwarders are sitting home because the charges are many. So the families in Tema feel it. Okay? Tema Central has always voted NPP. Now, as we speak, Ibi Bright is the MP until EC overturns it. She's come from a 25% gap to take Tema Central. Right? Tema Central should not even be a matter of litigation if MPP had held on. But it's not a normal election. So, in addition to the points Kai makes, I think that the decline in the port traffic and port business, and don't forget that if I'm a Tema candidate, I'm very sure that the businesses in Tema will support. Because you're lobbying, have you forgotten, every time there's a freight forwarder issue, the Tema MP has to go. So the power of the MP is undergirded by the strength of the port people and the businesses. So I'm pretty sure that they said this year we are not supporting MPP because of what they've done to us. And I think the same thing happened to Takoradi. So Secondly, the only MP apart from Efia is Secondly, Takoradi MP who's winning. So I think there's the residual port issues, converting all the port lands back to NDC from the NPP. Okay.
All right. Let's move to your next constituency of interest in Accra.
So my third one is Ablekuma West. Ablekuma West is where the Minister for Communication was toppled by Reverend Kwabenya. I have some people who I know who live in Dansoman. Not
including
Godfrey, who said this was coming.
They said that ESLA has residual. You see, Ablekuma West is iconic. Why? When MPP won the first 2000 election, one of the reasons why MPP venerates Teresa Amele Tego is that MPP has 4 strong women: Gladys Asma, Christine Cheche, Teresa Amele Tego. Now, at that time, Ablekuma West had Dansoman, and then it had Choco, and it had part of Kolegon. It was a massive constituency. Teresa Amele Tego was MPP's strong woman who won that seat for them in that election. Right? So she was one of MPP's strongest voices. When the constituency was split into 2, based on the way the constituency is, NDC took over the coast. So Choko, Kolegono is all going to NDC. Then Dansoman all the way, Zodiac, all the way to Akukofoto is MPP. So Esla has been coasting since 2012 in Ablekuma West when the split was done. 57% to 40%, 17% gap. 56 to 34, 12% gap. That's 2016. 2020, 54 to 44, 10% gap. But you notice it's closing.
Yeah.
So quite similar to the Tema West story. Godfred has issued, he basically says, when people start getting angry with your party, Esla is the poster child for people who dislike MPPs. They basically say she's one of those people, hey, she's whatever. So she's just in the constituency. She's from the constituency. Her mother lives there. She has a house, the office is there, and whatever. So this 44 in 2020, with the tsunami that was blowing, you would have thought it would be close, maybe 50-49. Look at what they're doing, 54-45.
Flipped it.
So
almost what happened during the last election.
Can you imagine? So
because
basically,
she got 54 in the last election, 54.27.
Can you imagine? So Reverend Kwabenya has basically flipped
the thing. Yeah.
So there are residual Esla. She's not doing anything because Dansoman is not a poor community. Although there are places, from what I know, which are indigent. She does a lot of things. She does her football stuff. I mean, if Godfred went to even play a football match that she organized.
She did a bridge which people claim had been washed away by.
The issue is that urbanized voters in Dansoman, if it's an economic issue, they will face it most. They are very savvy.
Yeah.
Godfred said to me that there are polling stations that since he started collating results in 2012, NDC has never won. They were even winning polling stations. Apparently, the polling station near Esla's mother's house.
Yeah, the NDC took it.
That's unheard of. Some place near Smith Flats as well. So, I think it's a big story because of who it is. Minister for Communications for 8 years, one of MPP's fighters, a lawyer. She's no shrinking value. Remember 2020, somebody went to sit on her chair. She says, you ain't sitting here. So, Esla, for those who dislike the Akufo-Addo government, is an emblem for that. Okay. But I mean, I can say she's been MP for 2 or 3 terms. Kwabenya has a big job because this constituency is my view like Adenta. If you mess around, they will punish you.
You are out.
So
let me pick Sky's thoughts on this particular seat and the personality there, Esla.
You see, I think to a large extent, the situation in the Ablekuma West constituency basically happens to be a microcosm of the macrocosm.
Picture.
Because if you look at it, this is a constituency, I mean, the people there are largely well-to-do. Yeah. They know what's up.
Yeah.
If you say you live in this DC, you know, you carry a certain, if you like, impression, and you exude a certain, you know, understanding of what's happening in the country. And consistently, we had received reports from that part of the country that people were not happy with a number of things. And it would seem that the Member of Parliament did not, if you like, avail herself or did not make herself available to the people as to get their issues addressed for them. Yeah. Many of these things Godfred will raise on the City Breakfast Show. Many of these things people will send in messages complaining, and then we will check it up. We'll call up the local you know, representative of the president, the MCE. He will speak to some of these things.
Blade, right?
Exactly.
Blade.
So it was obvious that Eboboba. Now, it would seem that the MP herself did not seize the opportunity to turn the tide. Because if you speak to people from within, the impression you get is that she's almost always interested in what happens along the coast and trying to neutralize whatever threats there may be from those areas.
Maybe because she thought the urban side proper
was sorted.
Was sorted based on the background.
You are, unfortunately, that did not happen this time around.
Because not to even catch you, I'll let you proceed. Even the last week of the campaign period, she went to the where the sea defense thing was an issue.
Okay,
Big Bay said trying to appeal to the finance minister to release money to solve the thing. But I guess by then
it didn't work. So you see, there is something that also happens to ministers. You know, when you are in a ministerial position and you become too detached, although you may be living in the constituency, but you become too detached from the realities of the people. The people see you as minister.
Yeah.
And that puts an added responsibility on you. They expect a lot more,
Yeah.
merely because you are a minister from the area.
Right.
Mind you, there are people from these Begbese and related communities who complain that they can't make calls the way they have to.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you are the Minister for Communications.
Yeah.
So when you take everything Bernard has said and you add what I'm saying to what Bernard has said, it will seem that, look, this thing could have been prevented if they had spotted it in good time, or even where they spotted it, if they acted in good time to ensure that they reversed it. Because I was there in 2012. That was where we did the blistering battle between her, the reform. Was it Nana Kodedu's party or something?
So there was Victoria Hammer.
Yes, Victoria Hammer of the NDC.
Victoria Hammer tried to close that
get
gap
out,
in, I think it was
2012.
12.
And since then, NDC hasn't had any formidable candidate. Antikweku Ado is a reverend, by the way. There are a few reverends who have won. Anya Soto also has a Reverend Tobin. So the reverends too are doing well. So now let me change
and mind you, though,
lawyers do well,
And
doctors do well, pastors do well, some
And
journalists do
journalists.
well,
yeah,
and of course businessmen.
and also let me also mention that you know that constituency also saw a lot of the use of the LGBTQ campaign.
Oh really?
Right? Oh yes.
I didn't know.
Because
For against
Esla,
Okay.
because she was easily the only person who actually from the MPP side was on her feet.
This law is bad.
Exactly, when raising issues against it. And you would have heard in the media interviews, in the stories that were done, that, oh, she's sort of leading this particular campaign, when in fact she was merely speaking against some of the ills she thought of the bill. So we should also take that into consideration.
Okay, guys, I have to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with the Greater Accra region. We're looking at the parliamentary results as it turned out. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
We all have that one friend, always by your side for the big moments and ready to assist. He's always got his eyes on the prize and his heart in the right place. Where would we be without our BFFs? This season, enjoy all 380 Premier League games with your BFF GoTV. Upgrade or reconnect to GoTV Super Plus for the discounted price of just 265 cedis today. GoTV, love it.
This Christmas season, prepare your hearts for an unforgettable worship experience on Sunday, 22nd December 2024. Join MOG Music, Barinikwe, Sisi Chum, Daughters of Glorious Jesus, alongside God's own crew and Empress as we gather for Christmas with MOG. The venue is ICGC Zoe Temple, Tema. Gates opening at 4 p.m. Event starts at 5 p.m. Rate 50 Ghana cedis single, 80 Ghana cedis double, and 150 Ghana cedis VIP. Tickets are available at Airport Shell and Community 11 Shell, or dial star 389 star 777 hash to secure your spot. It is going to be a night of drama and worship. Remember, it's happening on Sunday, the 22nd of December 2024. Media partners Channel 1 TV. Don't miss this opportunity to celebrate the birth of Christ with powerful worship, electrifying music, and the warmth of fellowship.
Get ready for the cinematic experience. Ghana Cinema Week is here from December 14th to 22nd. Join us in Accra, Tamale, and Hohoi for a celebration of storytelling free fair. To attend in Accra, simply register for free by dialing star 713 star 33 star 409 hash. And don't forget to bring the kids. We've got an amazing lineup of games, animation, and fun activities just for them. Tickets for Tamale and Hohoi are available now. Get yours today. For more info, visit National Film Authority on all social media platforms or call 03027 88920. Ghana Cinema Week, connecting people through cinema.
Welcome back to the Situation Room. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko here with Richard Kai as well as Bernard Avle. We're looking at the Greater Accra parliamentary results. Okay, so gentlemen, we just finished with Esla's constituency, Ablekuma West. Let's move to the next. When we went on break, you were saying one that caught your attention.
So, you know, in the year 2008, the biggest constituency in Ghana was Ayawaso. And the MP there was the MP is the current foreign minister, Sheila Kobotwe. So in that election, when we were covering, we were told that, wow, Ayawaso is big, huge. Then it was split in 2012 into 3. Botiano English Amanfro, Ayawaso Tum, and what's the third one? I forget. Botiano English Amanfro, Ayawaso Tum, and
for
Ayawaso. Good. In that 2012 election, NDC won Botiano. But it was a very close victory. So Bright Demoji got 46.55%, and the MPP candidate got 46.12%. So it was actually a dead heat. So of that Ayawaso split, Ayawaso was very MPP, as was Ayawaso. But Botiano had a stronger coastal community and some other groups that gave NDC a victory, but only just. Bright Demoji had a lot of problems as MP. I remember you interviewed him one day where he was internal rifts and all kinds of things. So it wasn't surprising when 2016, look at what MPP did. They took the seat 52% to 39%. So MPP gave them a 13% gap in 2016. All right. In 2020, they still won by 8% gap, but the NDC had halved it. All right. Now, NDC then brought Felix Akwete Okle, an indigene from Botiano. Now, Sly, Deputy Information Minister, a very interesting guy, supported Alan in the primaries, but somehow he didn't follow Alan. He was actually one of the key spokesperson for Baumia afterwards. Then he basically moved. He had moved. If you look at his political history, he had contested against Samuel Nate George in Ningo Pram, I think 2 electoral cycles before, and then moved to Botiano and won. So he had given them 2 electoral cycles of comfort, 52, 53, right? Because in the 2016 case, there was an independent candidate, but comfortably almost 8% gap. Now look at what NDC has done, 56-42. So it's not even close. They basically collected it and they brushed your face. You know, they collected a thing. I mean, look at that. From 39, 46 to 56. And then you have done 52, 53 to 42. So Felix Akwete Okle, again, it's a fast expanding constituency. There are so many internal dynamics there, but I know Sly was struggling. When you talk to NDC, it was not the consensus they meant that they would take. When I interviewed Ashimo, and he was telling you that you're going to move from 2025, Botiano was one of the 5 he said he will not allow MPP to take. And he's been proven right. 10,000 vote gap. 37K, 27K. It's not even close.
And you see, one of the things, again, that went against the government was the perception, which perhaps, if it is proven subsequently, will become reality, that members of the government were land grabbing. And the lands they were taking were essentially state assets. So about 2 or 3 weeks to the election, this news came in. The GBC people were so angry that parcels of land that were reserved for staff bungalows and other things that they wanted to do, for some reason, a deputy minister for this particular sector that has GBC within it was supposed to be working to take it over, or that some earth-moving equipment had moved into the area and they had gone to demolish a number of things. Of course, this was a terrible news. A terrible news because, first of all, as I've stated, that perception was there. Mind you, Okujeto Ablakwa led a demonstration in parts of Accra. And they were telling the good people of the Greater Accra region that, look, lands belonging to you. Members of this administration are appropriating these lands to themselves. We are coming to recover these lands. All kinds of things were said. Then weeks later, or months later, you have a deputy minister standing accused of this particular conduct. Again, you go back, you know, what happened with the Achimota forest? The perception that certain people within the administration were cutting the thing up for themselves when government said they were trying to release parts of the land to the family people. So how that particular scandal, if I may call it that, was handled may well have even played a part in this particular matter. Because one would have expected that if you are deputy minister for a particular sector, you have direct responsibility over that sector. You should not get involved in matters like this. Of course, I mean, the full details we are not well aware of. But the fact that there is that connection between the land and GBC, and he is a deputy minister for GBC in that sense, I think that it was such a big miss for him. He did not utilize the opportunity properly in that space.
All right. Let's move to our next constituency of interest.
So Vivian, even though I'm giving you this in order of interest, the one I'm coming to give you should have even been in the top 3, but it escaped me.
Which one?
All right. So Kwabenya was my number 1. Then I gave you Tema West as number 2, Ablekuma West as number 3,
and now
Botiano. Now I think the next one should have been the top 3, Ayawaso West Wuogon. Ayawaso West Wuogon should have come long ago.
That's an interesting.
Now for me, so headline-wise, it should be Kwabenya 1, Ayawaso West Wuogon number 2. I'll give you 3 reasons for this. Number 1, Ayawaso West Wuogon had a by-election with a lot of violence. So it was already a newsworthy story. Number 2, in 7 electoral cycles, NDC had won it only once, even though it has always been close. NDC won it in 96 when Rebecca Adote won against George Isaac Amu. I was in SS1. When I got to Legon in 2000, most university students voted for George Isaac Amu to win that seat because they felt that even though the woman's victory was challenged in court, she had stayed the 4 years in parliament. So they felt it was injustice. Amu won the case, but he couldn't take his seat. So I remember when I was in Legon, most of my roommates said they were going to vote for Amu because he had been 4 years in court. So in 2000, Amu got 55% and the NDC got 35%. So people like Elvis Ankra suffered for the sins of Rebecca Adote. Then you have 2004, high-profile names are coming in. All right, at some point you have Kojo Chumboafu coming in, Kwame Wadaku coming in, all on the NDC side. Fremont said Parry, the former chief of staff, is in there. Then you have Chairman Tinge Jako of the MPP. Between 2000 and 2020, MPP had won all. 2000 MPP 55-35, which is the one I said Fremont came in. Fremont maintained the seat 51-37. 2008, 43-37, very close. There was, I think, CPP or somebody that did pretty well. 2012 was one of the closest. I think it was the Wadaku one. 50% for MPP, 47.7
against
for NDC's
the late
Ejaku. So Ejaku got 50.7, Ejaku 47. 2016 was Brempong, I think, where he got 39% and NPP. So a lot of people for NDC had the wrong candidate because they are much closer. 2020, 51 for Lydia Seram. So Lydia's first real election was the 2021. The by-election, where she won, and then now you have this. So John Dumelo had closed the gap to 48-51. Now the nature of his victory is serious because John Dumelo gets close to 60%. He has 59%. Now even MPP in winning that seat had never won 60%, and the Lydia Seram gets 40%. John Dumelo gets 40,000 votes, 13,000 gap. 2 possible issues here. Ayawaso West Wuogon is the seat in Greater Accra with the highest registrations in this election. I showed that on that map. The explanation is that in 2020, because of COVID, a lot of students didn't register on campus. They registered home. The view is that John is popular among the students. So in 2024, because the students came back, the constituency grew by 19% in population. It's not because people have migrated, it's just because of the university. And John had waged a consistent campaign among the youth on campus. Campus as well reflects the mood of the nation. So from a 48 to 51, 4-point gap, he now gives you close to 60 to 40. Big story. Mind you, within that week, during the special voting, there was another story. Sharing of food, interview. A lot of things conspired against Lydia. And I think John, and the last thing I'll say, when you look at the nature of the constituency, so you have Legon campus, which is students, Ablekuma, Jowulu. Now, Legon campus is very dense.
Yeah.
Then you have Bawaleshi, which is a mixed bag. Then you have Ablekuma, which is usually people from the Volta region.
Volta, yeah, always.
Now, the view is that Lydia was doing well there because
Where she comes from.
she's Lydia Sarah Malhassan. She's from everywhere. She's from, so she was eating some of the NDC votes from the Volta region residually. But John also now says, I'm John Seto Dumelo. So it's Sarah versus Seto. So now the Volta votes, what are they doing? Where are they thinking? All right. And then John brings the students on board as well, wages a serious campaign. And then he brings this big victory to the NDC, which they will prize a lot because they've tried since 2000 to take this back. And they've not been able to. So I think if NDC is looking at Greater Accra and saying, these are the ones that make us very happy. If you ask Ashimo, he even told me on the interview here that at 5 a.m. of the special voting day, he called John Dumelo again and went through some numbers with him. 5 a.m. He said the first person he called was John. That John, this seat,
You're taking it.
you for winner. And the Greater Accra chairman is calling him at 5 a.m. before he goes round. So NDC has manned the seat, and Sarah had many problems. MPP, residual issues, sanitation minister.
Yeah.
She was just a victim of all of that, and John's suave, youthful nature took it from her.
Okay.
I must say that I identify largely with what Bernard has said. But beyond that, I think from the very beginning, the young woman suffered a lot at the hands of
John.
not John, the NDC machinery.
Okay.
Because mind you,
From the by-election?
yeah, from the by-election, this was a woman who lost her husband.
Yeah.
Contested elections, of course, there were incidents. What do you call it? What's the word? There were moments of violence. Some people suffered, badly as a result of that, and completely unacceptable. We set up a whole committee as a country to look into the matter, and a report was produced. But you see, the moment she got into parliament, the NDC decided to call her what? Bloody widow.
Yeah.
Merely because she contested in an election that turned violent. And then she was held responsible personally, instead of the key security actors who played their part to produce that outcome. So she was already under siege. Now, beyond that, you have a situation where days to the election, when we had the food incident.
Yeah, the treating.
Look, when I heard her on the breakfast show, that interview went terribly bad.
That's right.
She had come in hoping to make an intervention, but that intervention did not turn out
It went
properly.
the other way.
What am I saying? I'm saying that, first of all, people I know in the constituency were angered by that particular interview. They thought that a simple "I'm sorry" would have helped.
Yeah.
But she sought in that interview to suggest that it was the women's organizer,
If somebody was
or somebody was
also
also hungry, wanted water, and then she
Yeah.
helped. People thought that no, she was not entirely, if you like, magnanimous with the truth. But there is also something that we need to look at, which has to do with the population on campus. I have always held the view that it is unfair for students who are moving from other constituencies
to vote there.
to come to a university, be on campus for 4 years, in some cases 2 years, as the case may be, depending on the program they are doing,
Yeah.
and then take part in elections there. Many go on to preserve their votes in those constituencies.
Yeah.
So that even where he's grown up, now doing national service or working in the Ashanti region, in many cases, they maintain their names on the register. I think that going forward, something should happen in that particular space. I celebrate Dumelo for the effort that he made. Because mind you, there was a brutal battle between him and his friend. What's his name?
The other actor.
Fred Nyama.
Fred Nyama.
Yeah.
Over that particular ticket.
Yeah.
And the NDC eventually took a firm decision to say that, look, please, we want this gentleman to come back. You step aside for now. I think that decision in itself would also have to be commended, because many felt that that decision, if it had not been properly weighed, could have gone against the NDC. But some way, somehow, Fred, you know, after initial hesitations, sort of accepted the outcome of the NDC's mediation and sort of worked together with his friend, and they've been able to deliver the seat. I hope that he would be one of the star people we see in Parliament, and that he will live up to expectation. Otherwise, we might see something different in the years to come.
Guys, so based on what we've seen with this seat, is it one that we think the NDC will keep, or it may go back?
For me, I'll say that it's a very tough seat. John has a lot of work to do, because it's a very, as Kai says, very diverse.
Yeah.
So university campus, but there's also Ablekuma, Jowulu, Nkwantanan, so non-Nkwantanan, Bawaleshi.
Yeah.
So they are very savvy on national issues.
And they're rich.
The advantage of MPs like that, if you are visible, they don't want money from you necessarily. You need to be seen to be engaging. So whatever he did that got him to win, he needs to continue. Go on campus, have town hall meetings, let people know you have a listening ear, and advocate for things that matter to them. Because for us in some constituencies, it's more about roads and things. I think this area is more about people not thinking you've gone to sleep. So he probably has to do MP work, keep his doors open, have a system where people can engage with him. That's what they want, because, I mean, you have East Legon Executive Club. They don't need you to do anything for them, okay? Jowulu is fairly okay. It's a business community. University campus is a well-organized place. So he probably needs to do a lot more work in the Bawaleshi side and possibly the Ablekuma side. So it's more proper legislation, useful media appearances, and community engagement, and not necessarily pooling resources to do roads, because the government has done roads there already. All right, when they even did the overpass from Flower Pot, the MP for Ayawaso West Wuogon was there. All right, there are lots of road projects in that constituency already, because I think that constituency, apart from maybe High Street, is the most expensive piece of real estate. I'll give you examples. East Legon is very expensive now. Jowulu is already a business community. If you look at the kinds of offices, if the assembly would do its work and even collect property tax, Ayawaso West Wuogon Assembly is very wealthy. You have a university campus, you have all these big tallow companies on that road in that constituency. I believe most people there own their own houses. You get it? So the development plan for a constituency like that is not the same as a development plan for, say, Angolo South or whatever. So John has his work cut out. That's what I'll say. He has his work cut out for him.
All right. I see you want to do Ablekuma Central, Ayawaso Central.
Yes, you know, I'm doing this in an interesting way. I'm trying to give you seats that the opposition won, that they will prize. That's the angle I'm coming from. Seats that they will be very pleased they won. Which is why I said Kwabenya was number 1. Ayawaso West Wuogon is number 2. Obviously, they meant Botiano, so they are happy. They are happy to take Tema West as well. And then I gave you Esla because of their figure. The reason they are happy with this seat is 2 reasons. This is the man who closed the borders. And they were angry.
We're going to close his own border.
But it wasn't the border. it wasn't the border that got him to lose. Okay, now let's.
It may have played a part. You know, many of our people are Bambubi and all of this.
Now let me give you something first. So this constituency has been a headache for NDC. You know why? So Ayawaso has 4 constituencies. So NDC can say for the first time that Ayawaso is green. Ayawaso East is Nima. NDC wins it well. Ayawaso North is Mamobi, they win it well. Ayawaso West Wuogon, they've won. But Ayawaso Central, for some reason,
it's always been blue.
And Vivian, it's always been close, but NPP takes it. Look, 96, 44, 43. 2000, 56, 37, big gap. 2004, 52, 43, 9%. 2008, 49, 47. Ayawaso somehow. And Ayawaso's boy was Henry Quarters. So the machinations they do. And look at the places. Kokominemle, Kotobabi, Alajo, and parts of Newtown. All right. This is a mixed, beautiful part.
Yeah.
Kokomlemle, we know who is there. We know who is in Newtown. It's a good melting pot of urban Accra.
With heavy ever presence.
Ever presence, Northern presence, Akan business presence, Nigerian presence. Because don't forget, Newtown used to be called Lagos Town.
Yeah.
So, and then Alaju.
Yeah.
So NDC couldn't figure out how on earth are we losing this seat to MPP all the time.
Yeah.
Which is why the MPP guys who win this seat are highly prized. Because the character of the constituency favors NDC. But somehow,
MPP takes it.
MPP has found the right people to take it. Then Henry Quartey is, in many people's view, one of the most successful MPP ministers of the Akufo-Addo era.
Yeah.
At least initially. Deputy Interior,
Then,
Greater Accra, National Security,
and then, yeah.
right?
Interior.
Then you have a relatively new face, Abdul Rauf, because they've been using some guy called Obama. And Richard Mensah has given the history of this constituency. Richard Mensah is the expert on this constituency. Because Richard Mensah lives between Kotobabi and Pig Farm, so he knows the area very well. He says, NDC has tried all kinds of people.
Yeah.
So they bring this relative young, fair, handsome guy, and Henry Quartey begins to struggle. Now, Henry Quartey's struggles begin from his primaries.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a young guy who used to work with him, who for some reason wants to take the seat from
From
him.
a whole regional minister.
And his godfather too went against him.
Now, this is the conspiracy theory. Henry Quartey was getting very popular.
Yeah.
The media liked Henry Quartey. People said, wow, Greater Accra can work. He gave a wonderful speech at the Presbyterian Church.
Yeah, the Homowa thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And there's like,
beautiful one.
For the first time, he held a meeting. All Greater Accra MPs were with him, including the NDC MPs.
Yeah.
He's moved the timber, the onion market to where it's supposed to go. Zongo Junction, Medina is working fairly well. He's chasing people at Ramsar sites. Media is with him. Oh my God, the guy can even be running mate. Now, in politics, your opponents are on the other side. Your enemies are with them.
Yeah.
So my theory is that Henry Quartey's problem started because he was rising too quickly, and people were like, who is this guy? So some of it was internal sabotage. His guy who started running against him, people were like, how on earth is this guy competing against Henry Quartey? Henry Quartey is one of Akufo-Addo's success stories. Why is he struggling for his political life? NDC senses blood. They support Abdul Rauf Tubazu, who does a submarine campaign. Look at what he does. From a 7-point gap for ND's MPP in 2020, Rauf now makes it an 8-point gap. He's flipped it 15%. All the things I've said tells you that Henry Quartey, he will not be surprised he lost.
Yeah.
He will not be surprised he lost if he's honest with himself.
He should have seen that coming.
So this, if Ashimo looks at the Greater Accra pie, he will pop champagne over Ayawaso Central and said, at last, after a long stretch of red, blues, finally one green, take it MPP, and they will make sure they help this guy to consolidate.
Yeah.
Because MPP would want to come back. So watch Abdul Rauf Tubazu. It's a big victory for NDC.
Okay.
Trust me.
Sky, Henry Quartey falling. I mean, interior boss, he should at least, if he's closing borders, he has the power to close a border. He should have a grab over his constituency. One.
Ideally.
Two, he was, doing the right thing in terms of development for a region. But a lot of people were not happy. Yeah. I remember when he tried the circled one, it was chaos. And he had to run in the end because the people went after him. The tomato guys, the onions guys, we spoke to them and they said, based on what he did, they will never forgive him. They'll get him out. I mean, he was digging his own grave.
Yeah, to a large extent. And of course, I interviewed him a number of times concerning these matters and also land-related issues, because as a chairman of the regional coordinating council and the security institutions within the space, he was presiding over many of these issues and was trying to resolve them. These were some of the issues I raised with him in interviews I had with him, that look, all of these decisions you have taken, hoping that they will transform the Ghanaian space in a positive way, at least in the regional capital. The people say they are not happy, and they say that they are going to go after you.
Yeah.
But he kept emphasizing God, that God has already made him the winner. But ultimately, the people have decided against him. Now, you mentioned something really interesting, having to do with what happened at Circle.
Yeah.
you know, a lot of the people in that constituency depend on, you know, these what do you call it, movement, you know, carrying things here and there and earning something, setting up small tabletop, what do you call it, shops and selling a few things. When he intervened, of course, for a good reason, trying to get rid of some of these people from the streets so that we can open up the national capital. But that affected jobs. While it made it possible for traffic to flow in parts of Accra, including the Circle, Tiptoe area, what it meant was that people have lost their livelihoods. And this was at a time the economy was in serious trouble. People had lost a lot of money due to, you know, haircut that Bernard also received one.
So we all did. I haven't recovered from mine as I sit here.
But you've done your hair. I didn't even have
this is borrowed hair.
And you see, many other people were affected. And some of these people moved from, what do you call it, the Newtown areas and go to Agbogbloshie to go and hustle. Of course, what he did there, fantastic job. We can't continue to have onion market at the heart of Accra. Let's move it out. But once that moved, the people who go as Kaya Ye and Kaya Yu,
all that gone.
They suffered. Agbatekola, they suffered. People from Malata and all of these people who go and do that, they are all suffering. So it was written on the board that, look, this guy, we have to take him out. And the internal rivalry also did not help him. Look at it. When this Abo guy went after him, he pulled 594 votes, as opposed to Abo, who had 326 ballots.
Serious?
Yes. It was that close.
A whole Henry Quarter.
A whole Henry Quarter.
Abus are done.
So if you look at it, and bad news of bad news, a day or so before the election, he had to sign that communication from the executive that they were closing the borders. And people felt that he was targeting a certain part of the country, people from some part of the country. And those people also happen to be
in the place.
Oh, I mean, he's a great guy. I mean, Ghana is losing such a fantastic, you know, workaholic. I mean, at some point his health was not so well, but he was able to get it back together and was doing fairly well. And
so how many have we done so far?
I believe we've done 6.
So Kwabenya is number 1. Ayawaso West Wuogon is number 2. Ablekuma West number 3, Tema West number 4, Botiano number 5, Ayawaso Central number 6. Now my 7th is Okaikwei South.
Okaikwei South. Okay.
Number 7 is Okaikwei South. Now let's go back to Okaikwei South. Now again, I like to give the description of the place for people to know where we are talking about. So Okaikwei South, Kaneshi, and North Kaneshi is Okaikwei South. All right. So if you move from the new overhead that was done from Graphic Road towards Kaneshi, all right, everything on your left you have Ablekuma Central, all right, Ablekuma Central, Abose Okai, Matayeko and Co. On your right is Okaikwei South, so Mpamprom, you have where Asam Kranchankra's church is, all the way to the cemetery. Then you have places like Ogle Road, Swan Lake, where your Kanesi Sports Complex is, all the way up. MPP has been successful in Okaikwei South. One of the favorite people in Ghana, Nana Komia. He and Sylvester Mensah were the 2 youngest MPs in the 96 Parliament.
From
I remember an interview on GTV for the 2 of them. Brilliant guy. He was on City last week. So Nana Komia held
this week actually.
This week. Who
Nana Komia held Okaikwei South. Now Okaikwei South is very similar to. So Vivian, we are seeing constituencies that have been blue
to Escler's place and Henry's place.
Now Okaikwei South is similar to what we just discussed. Ayawaso Central. NPP has been very comfortable. 96, 56, 36. No challenge. 2000, 63, 30. That's a 33% point gap in favor of MPP. 33% point gap. This is like Of course, you know, Ahmed Atta also came to take over the seat. 54-39, 2008. 2012, 54-40. Even 2016, 58-37. Now, 2020, where NDC even closed the gap nationally, you have 60% for NPP, 39% for NDC. So that's a 21 percentage point business guy. Charlie, the guy is, and Joe Duncan lives there. So he says, Charlie, there was a week that he's doing widows, come for one chicken. Charlie, people are, he's on the ground. He has property there, he's young, he's known, he's an area boy.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't think Dakwa has done anything wrong. She's suffering from the residual, don't forget it's a market community. Yeah. Again, Kaneshie has residential, but also commercial. So when people bear the brunt of the economy, you will face it. For something that you want 60 to 39, and people consider Okaikwei South as one of their safe seats. Look at that, 57%. If you want a constituency, and this is national. Now the reason I use, this is serious, all right? Ernest Adomako takes the seat for NDC.
Okay. You know,
takes the seat for NDC.
Okay. You know, I happen to be one of the people who felt really bad when the Honorable Nana Komia announced that he was no longer going to seek re-election.
No, this is like 3 electoral cycles ago.
Yeah, that's right. Because, I mean, brilliant, solid communicator, easy on the ear, very decent, doesn't offend anybody to the best of my ability, my understanding of his person, and understands Parliament and politics generally. So when he took that decision, you know, many people, including myself, felt that no, I mean, it wasn't the right thing to do. But then at that point, it became obvious that money was getting into the space. We will remember that there was a brutal battle between Ahmed Atta and
a lady,
Vicky Bright, who had returned from the UK as a lawyer. In fact, John Kufuor brought her to become a Minister of State. And then for some reason, issues of dual, I think it must have been.
I think she had renounced her previous citizenship, but it hadn't clicked.
Yes, you know, so eventually it didn't check out. So the way
a fine lawyer,
brilliant one at that, who understood business.
Where is she, by the way?
I have no idea. And in that particular race, she lost by 12 votes. There were allegations of rigging. I covered that particular primaries there. It was brutal. And she appealed to the party leadership that, look, this thing was unfair. A number of things went on. Kululu happened. Fix it. Some way, somehow, it did not happen. Of course, the NPP went on to retain the seat. But then the seeds of discord had been planted. And it matured when Dakwa Newman entered the space. Of course, distributed. The widows were fed so well. At the end of the day, we saw the margins. The point I'm making is that sometimes godfatherism helps.
If your godfather is not there,
it can weigh in heavily on you. It can weigh heavily on you. And then also, she seemed to have paid a lot of attention to the ministerial work. You know, the diplomatic space, when you go into those spaces, they will tell you that this is the first time in a long time that we have had a minister who sort of showed greater commitment to the cause of the ministry and doing things, of course.
Because a lot of the money for the ministry comes from donors. So if the minister is serious, she can fund the ministry without even government. So, and she seemed interested in that. So maybe that affected.
Yeah, unfortunately, she must have left her eyes at the ministry.
She was victim of a tsunami.
Yeah, tsunami. And it's unfortunate. First time member of parliament.
Why is it unfortunate? But
no. I mean, I'm talking. See, because first of all, she's a woman, and we need a lot more women in parliament.
We need good leaders. We need good leaders.
We've not done well with the new one.
That's right. We need a lot more women. Better, you should be supporting this cause.
That's a different argument.
There are good women who can go into parliament. But
we want good leaders.
Yes.
If they're happy to be women, fine. They're happy to be men, fine.
We should also encourage the women to go to change a lot of the issues we are seeing as a country.
No, it's unfortunate.
It's very fortunate.
She's a promising
young female politician who has been taken out.
How will he? Maybe he's also promising. He's also coming to.
Oh, no, I'm not speaking about her.
That's all. Guys, I have to take a quick break. I need to pay bills. Whether it's a man or a woman, I need to pay the bills. So this is the Situation Room. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko here with Banana and Richard Sky. We'll take a quick one. When we come back, we'll wrap up on the region. I'm not sure we'll be able to finish. Maybe we have to do a bit.
The ones I've given
but let me. So we'll be right back.
Paying for your Showmax is easy. Just choose your preferred payment method from these easy and convenient options. MTN Momo, Visa or MasterCard, Showmax vouchers at DSTV or GoTV sales agents, or use a promo code. Enter your payment details and hit submit. Showmax, pay easy, stream easy.
Get ready for the cinematic experience. Ghana Cinema Week is here from December 14th to 22nd. Join us in Accra, Tamale, and Hohoi for a celebration of storytelling through film. To attend in Accra, simply register for free by dialing *713*33*409#. And don't forget to bring the kids. We've got an amazing lineup of games, animation, and fun activities just for them. Tickets for Tamale and Hohoi are available now. Get yours today. For more info, visit National Film Authority on all social media platforms or call 03027 88920. Ghana Cinema Week, connecting people through cinema.
Introducing Rexona Non-Stop Protection 72-hour antiperspirant with breakthrough microtechnology that forms a stronger sweat barrier. Tested to the limit, even during the most intense workouts.
Still clean, dry, and fresh for longer.
Try the new Rexona 72-hour non-stop protection for clean, dry, and fresh underarms every day.
So you're welcome back to the Situation Room here with Richard Sky as well as Bernard Avle. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. We're looking at the Greater Accra region in terms of the parliamentary results. We'll move to Amasaman.
Yes.
Another interesting one.
Amasaman, because it's almost like I had something and you came to take it from me and I've taken it back, which is why it's an interesting story. Because Amasaman is in the top 4 largest constituencies in Ghana.
Yeah.
So Kwabenya is number 1. I think Ashaman is number 2. Amasaman is either 3 or 4, and then Ewutu East. Yeah. So similar to what now Okuno North did, but the difference is that now Okuno, this is the first time NDC is winning. What do you call it? Ewutu East. Yeah. But in the case of Amasaman, NDC had been fairly comfortable. In 2012, 51 to 37, right? Big gap for NDC. But in 2016, problems began. 49 to 48. Right? So that means the NPP had actually closed the gap in 2016. And true to the trend of the graph, if somebody comes from a 13% deficit, 13% gap deficit, and brings it 48, 49, clearly MPP was going to win. So in 2020, for the first time, MPP took Amasaman 51% to 48, very close. Now, what is interesting is that MPP changed their candidate. So they had a candidate, Efrie, who won the seat for them in 2020, and some internal issues came up, and they brought a different guy.
You mean Afrifa?
Afrifa, sorry. Now, prior to this, Clement Wilkinson, who's the MC for the area, had many issues. It's a fast-developing area, so many communities with poor road networks, but with a lot of potential. Okay, so we're talking Sapeman, Kuntunse, Coleman,
original spot.
There's even Pokwasi Amanfrom. All right? All of those places, it's a massive constituency. Okay. Now, NDC repeats, said them, Apenyo. I'll tell you this, I was in the Volta region in 2021 to do a program for the region. And I met one of his campaign people when he said 2024, they'll take the seat back. So they've been working very, very hard to win the primaries and to win the seat back. Now, Yaya Kasim comes in, but it was a difficult primaries for MPP to change. So MPP felt that they had to change some of their MPs. So for example, Trobu, if they hadn't changed Moses Enim and Gloria Safo come in for Trobu, they may have had more problems there. So you can say that Gloria Safo saved MPP in trouble. I think MPP was hoping that, of course, Efrifa was not there for long. He was just a one-term MP, but it wasn't very visible. So they brought Yaya Kasim, hoping that where he's from could change the dynamics in their favor. Again, because of the population expansion, there are lots of developmental problems. When a place is expanding like that, roads are bad, some places don't have water, people will be unhappy with the government. Okay, so even though some roads were done, Sedem is already known. This is the second attempt. So NDC is excited to take back this to almost a 16% point gap, the third largest constituency in the country. And it's not, look at the vote margin. They'll be fairly satisfied. Look at that. 14,000 votes. Don't forget, when we do presidential elections, it's a delta issue. If a large constituency is giving you 15K vote margin, that is really good. So what was a very close constituency has been made into a fairly comfortable gap for the NDC. So numerically, Amasaman is big for NDC, which is why I chose it as one of my top 10 stories.
Sky, this is your constituency.
Yeah, this is my
when you come to Greater Accra, when you are in Volta, which one is your
Ketu South or Keta.
So which one are you picking?
His father's side, Ketu South.
For the thing.
You
want to say viewer, but say it. for
You see, the Amasaman constituency is, as Bernard stated, a very complex area. Complex in the sense that you have all manner of, ethnic groupings in that space, because it is the developing area. So you have a lot of Gans in the community, because these are the original owners of the space. Then you have the Akan people who moved in to buy
a lot of Kwewu people.
Yes,
big hotels, big houses,
building all kinds of things there. Then you have the others who either were using parts of the land for purposes of farming, or are helping to build the place. So they are bricklayers, they are carpenters, they do all kinds of things. Many of them have built houses there, they are raising families. People who could not afford property in the heart of Accra, when they move to Accra to build property there, and they are raising their family there. But the biggest problems have to do with water, electricity in some cases, the road network. Then you have, in addition to that issue, in some cases, issues with crime. Because of how the place is scattered, right? You don't have the Amasaman police station. You have to come back towards Pokwase before you go to the Amasaman police station. Meanwhile, if you go to Kutunse, you have to drive on the Accra Saom Highway and then turn right before you go inside. Then you go to Kutunse, you have Koleman and you have Sapeman and these other communities. Now, because of the very complex nature of the ethnic dynamics there, it would seem to me that the NDC got it right this time around. Because you cannot move in that constituency a meter or two without meeting someone who is saying Chalafuleke. A lot of them are from the area. And then also you have a lot of Muslims there. Mind you, people do a lot of open, what do you call it? What's the name? The cattle people. They do rearing of cattle and all of these things. So you have a lot of the Northerners also in the space. So it would seem to me that, the NDC deciding to repeat him did the trick. Because mind you, my good friend, Clement Wilkinson, tried in that particular constituency. He happens to be a proper
the indigene owner of the land. Actually,
but
Enana.
And for Akwenyo to go in again, and then this time around winning by more than 10,000 votes, it tells you that something has happened in that particular space. Look, all the polling stations I went to, either the polling station, the people, communities surrounding those places happen to be some of our people, or the people policing the process are part of our people. So I think that for communities like that, going forward, we should be looking strongly at candidates who are from the migrant communities, because there's heavy presence of these people in these spaces. And
Pascal, don't forget also that a lot of the communities, as you said, they have road problems. All right, so Sapeman, Maira, Samsam, a lot of the demonstrations that
I covered one, Maira,
Samsam, where our guy is from,
Patrick.
Okushibiade Akotoshi, Midie.
Okushibiade.
Well, Okushibiade, that's how they write it. In Sakina.
All
these places, have road problems. So all the iniquities of the MC. So now SEDEM has to be careful, because now you are MP for this vast area. Your party is in government, so you don't have an excuse.
Right. In fact, where I live, we almost always are having to contribute money, or we do collection to fix the roads.
You increase the amount you are contributing so you can do proper roads. I mean, you're a lawyer, you can afford it. Anyway, have you wrapped up with?
You let me progress.
Okay, guys, we have a few minutes. Let's do Lojokuku.
No, I wanted to do two. Adenta. The reason I want to do Adenta is because Adenta was being pitched as a very competitive constituency. So even though NDC retained it, I think there's a story there, because Akosia Menu has media presence. She appears on a lot of media platforms, and she did a lot of campaign. Okay, I know both candidates very well. When I interviewed Ramadan, he was very confident he was going to win, because he said even in 2020 he did better than his presidential candidate, and that he believes that residually the people vote for him. So what he's managed to do is that constituency which used to be flip-flop, because don't forget in 2004 it was won by Opare Hammond, who's an MPP person. Before what's the name? NDC came back on 2 occasions. First they had the guy who came before Ashimon. I forget his name. So NDC had won it twice, but 2016 YB took it back. So 2004 MPP, 2008 NDC, 2012 NDC, 2016 MPP. So it was looking like MPP can do something. And then the gap in 2020 was just a 12% gap. And with a visible candidate like Kozimenu, you would have thought that. So for me, this, I mean, look at what we are seeing here. 61 to 38%. So basically, Ramadan has converted what used to be a light green, purple seat, a seat that is not sure, into solid NDC. Because, and look at the vote margin, 56K. Vivian, 21,000 votes. That's bigger than some constituencies.
I thought she was really on the ground, really pushing.
No. So you know, there's many things happening. I know Adenta pretty well. It's a very vast place. New developing areas as well. Ramadan operates quietly. Ramadan, every funeral he's there. Every time I go to a church, when I go to wedding, he's there. I go to church program, he's there. He doesn't talk much, but he's always there. His house is in the constituency. There's a place in the constituency even called Fulani. Don't forget his brother, sister. He's the second lady's brother.
Blood brother.
Okay, and he's very. His
grandfather is the chief.
His grandfather is from Fulani area, and he's a pre-second too. So he's known in the area. He blends a lot. He's a very nice person. So he's managed to.
But Kosi too was in the churches and all that.
But Kosi is new in the MPP in Adenta as a candidate. All right. So this is the first time they fielded her. MPP have been changing candidates for 2. They even tried. What's the name of this woman?
Francis
CM tried at some point. YB is even doing Alan business now. You know, so MPP has had a checkered history. Ramadan has solidly converted a light green into a deep green. 20,000 gap is serious.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's
were you expecting this?
I had no doubt that Ramadan was going to retain it.
But
because
the margin?
first of all, his persona.
Okay.
Because until he came onto the scene, we hadn't seen the level of humility we would traditionally see from an MP from Adenta constituency. You know, Kojo Edu Asare was almost boisterous. Of course, previously you had a reverend who became the manager of finances for the NPP. I've forgotten his name, the departed.
I mentioned.
I mentioned
Oparihamon. Very likable person. Yeah. But even he too.
He suffered in the primaries.
He suffered in the primaries, so he was taking.
In that case, the primaries will finish before you even get to.
Kojo Edu Asare was also Charlie booted out just like that.
Ashimo
went in there. Charlie knows it.
In fact, if they hadn't brought Ashimo to replace Edu Asare, there was a fear that they would have lost.
Yeah.
All right. But Ramadan has solidified the place.
And he's approachable when he's talking to you, and people like these things.
Pascal, the prayer of Ramadan is that your sister is the second lady.
Yeah.
And she's
from the
campaigning
other side,
for Baumia. So I even suspect that some of his problems initially, because the momentum was on Kozi's side.
Yeah, but strategic.
I think probably some people ended will say, Charlie, but this guy, his sister be second lady. So
no, but strategically, the sister stayed away from the constituency.
She never campaigned for him.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. But if you are in this, you say, hey, are you sure you want to put this guy there? Although if I'm John Mahama, I'll say, I want the second lady's brother in my camp.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like Abu Jinapo John Jinapo situation. And so their father is PNC guy who's ambassador. Yeah, so for me, he probably also had the visibility of being the second lady's brother helping. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the woman didn't go there. That would have been an entirely different matter. Because ideally, because you have a heavy presence of Fulani people in that community. You know, if you go to
there's actually a place there called Fulani.
Fulani. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
There's a place behind there.
And you would have expected, of course, if you are speaking from the viewpoint of Kozi, you would have expected that, look, one of the most powerful voices they have this campaign would have been Samira Baumia, going into the community and rallying the people.
Against your brother?
Your husband and your brother?
Well, it's...
And by the way, Ramadan speaks English, Ga, Ewe, Hausa,
solid guy.
Fulani.
Good fit for his
So he speaks every language. So everywhere he goes, he can.
So you can. Is one of the people I admire so much.
He's a gentle
very
guy.
calm,
He's a gentle guy.
Gentle, easy on the ear, and always ready to listen to you for suggestions you may make. Look, I mean, he deserves.
So Vivian, maybe next time we can do the coastal Accra.
Yeah, because our time is up.
Coastal.
We have 2 minutes or a minute. I can take your closing remarks on the people we've spoken about so far. 1 minute each, then we'll wrap up. You can start with you, Sky.
Well, I mean, I think it's look, along the coast, the MPP has been almost entirely eliminated, except for spaces Weja, and then also a Futu constituency. Go to Western Region, Takrady.
That's all they have.
I mean, it tells you that, look, a lot of our coastal communities are not happy with the government, and they threw the government away. The question is, the NDC coming on the backs of what happened in 2016, you know, they also were swept away along the coast. What kinds of policies will come to address the concerns of the people of the coast? And then also in the urban spaces, what will the government do to assuage our problems? Electricity, water,
good roads,
security. Don't feel that we, the Accra people, we think we know too much, so we are talking on the radio. That's what they used to tell me when I go to Parliament.
They say we Accra.
We are watching a radio, so movies say Accra, Ghana.
But now Accra is Ghana. Accra is Ghana.
So, like we've seen, some people concentrating on the coastal side of their concern and giving them troubles. Aloski, we want to add
fascinating insights. I'm looking forward to the next show where we can look at the coast properly. This is just Accra, but as Kai said, nobody should tell us that Accra is not Ghana. Accra may not be Ghana, but Accra is a good barometer for the national mood. And let nobody dismiss the views of the people in the city, at least for the next few elections.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. Bernard Avle and Richard Sky, Vivian Kai Lokko here. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time, 3 p.m. Don't go away. Bye-bye.
you.